Welcome back to Jersey Matters. I'm Larry Menti. In New Jersey these days, you can bet on just about everything. And soon you'll be able to bet on video game competitions called esports. But does this new law encourage the young to gamble? Here's my interview with Bill Pascrell III, a partner at the Princeton Public Affairs Group and a leader in bringing legalized sports betting to New Jersey. Bill, thanks always for your time. A bill, legislation to allow esports betting passed pretty overwhelmingly through New Jersey that would allow betting on video game competitions. Tell us what it means to the industry and what it means to the state.
Well, Larry, this has been a project that's been worked on for quite a period of time. Initiative of the Murphy administration and particularly chairman of the Assembly Budget Committee, Senator Ralph Caputo, who's taken a leadership role on this. As I'm sure you're aware, Larry, there's dozens of colleges and universities across the country that give scholarships out for esports. A lot of the debate, the discussion, the advocacy has circled around concerns about youth being exposed to betting. The only way to protect that is to legalize, legitimize, and regulate it. That way you can track it because it's going on in black markets across the globe, and there's no way for governments to monitor that. So, you know, it kind of reminds me, Larry, if you will, back when Texas Hold'em used to be on television. I used to watch it. My dad would laugh at me, like, who the hell's going to watch people play cards on TV? And then that became the rage. This is something that I kibitzed with my older kids about 10 dozen years ago. Like, why would you watch people play video games? And now it is the rage. It's predominantly from the Japanese markets, which have been doing this for years. European markets have been betting on esports. You know, you're attracting upwards of 15, 20,000 people at arenas across the US, obviously pre-pandemic, and now that we're starting to open up again, where the audiences are vast. It provides a good content for betting, and we're going to regulate it properly. And I think this will be another good, innovative offering by the state of New Jersey in their leadership on gaming.
It seems to me like the argument against this bill was the same argument that was used against the tobacco industry when they were trying to go after a younger audience, and they would use cartoons and even with vaping to get over younger people to smoke. That was the same argument that was used against this, that video games are popular with the young, and this is a way to hook the young into betting. But I know that you've already talked about this. You're saying, I guess your argument against this was inevitable, it's going to happen?
Well, it's already happening. I mean, it's a huge billion-dollar industry globally. You know, the fact of the matter is it's already occurring. And just like sports betting and online gaming, the best way to control and to protect consumers and juveniles is to regulate and legalize it. Now, it's still illegal for someone under the age of 21 to bet on, you know, sporting events. But, you know, we bet on college basketball all the time. What's the difference? They're participants in the event, just like the esports video gamers are participants in the event. What needs to be monitored is the way we track and ensure that those people aren't being taken advantage of by predators in the sports betting industry that tend to be criminals. But the most effective way, and I think we've made our case, obviously the vote is proof positive of that, is to regulate and legalize it so that it can be properly monitored.
Yeah, I do believe that much of this is a generational thing because I don't understand it at all. And I know my kids love it. They play it constantly. I was at Madison Square Garden a few months ago and it was sold out. And I asked, what was this for? And they said it was esports. And I was blown away that it was that popular. So I do believe there's a lack of understanding between generations of how popular this is getting. And I think you would agree that's part of the blowback.
No question about it. But what I'm telling you emphatically, and I certainly get it. It's much like the whole argument about cannabis, which is very generational. I agree with that. And I'm not saying we should just do it because people are doing it. I'm saying the most effective way to ensure that responsible gaming is conducted, that we're monitoring gambling addiction and we're monitoring minors gambling, is to legalize it. Creates revenue to enforce it and to ensure that we're not having spikes in gambling addiction, which of course we saw during the pandemic. But I feel very good about the legislation we put in place. I know the regulatory rollout will be robust, as it always is. Director Reebok at the DG, the Division of Gaming Enforcement in New Jersey, has a really good team respected across the globe to monitor this stuff. And finally, the other thing I would say, Larry, and I know you're aware of this, is last 2 years ago, summer 2 years ago, during the Nathan's hot dog eating contest, Nathan's wanted people to be able to place bets on that. And of course, they weren't allowed to, because you have to have a legitimate, regulated rules professional league. The legislature just developed, in collaboration with Nathan's, the ability for that to happen. So we're going to be placing bets in a couple of weeks on the Nathan's hot dog contest because it will be done properly. Now, that's not to say that people weren't placing bets on a side illegally, but the way to trampoline on that is to regulate it and legitimize it and put rules in place so that people are protected.
There is a low maximum bet in this legislation. Is that because they're just testing it? They want to see if there's any problems? Why is that?
Yeah, exactly. So Larry, and you know this well because I've talked about it many times on your great show. Remember, originally, there were a certain number of casino operators that were not allowed to do sports betting because they also owned professional franchises. It took a year for the Senate president and the legislature and the governor to monitor that. We made our argument back then. Our argument won the day at the end of the argument, because the only way to monitor that stuff is by regulating it and legitimizing it. So I believe that after maybe a year or two, we'll come back in and we'll be able to change those limits. But I think that's a fine way to start. We don't need to have obscene limits. That's not what this is about. But if you're giving scholarships out across the country at universities for esports, it's obviously a legitimate sport in many people's minds. So why not take advantage of it? And I think regulation is always best, as opposed to not regulating it and letting the black market dictate what happens.
And speaking of universities getting more involved in esports, there's a Esports Center that's going to be built in Atlantic City at Stockton University. Tell us about that.
Another great tribute and feather in the cap of our governor. The New Jersey Economic Development Authority has put in seed money into creating this institute. This will be one of several items that are going to be launched. And it's going to attract talent, educate people on compliance, regulations, marketing, legal issues with regard to esports. And we're also going to be doing this in another series of announcements with other interactive gaming opportunities like fixed odds horse racing, like exchange wagering, like casino and poker and sports betting. New Jersey is the third largest jurisdiction in the globe for online gaming. Wow. And we've only been doing online gaming for the last 7 years and only online sports betting for the last 3 years. We are now right below the UK and Germany. We're ahead of Vegas, the third largest jurisdiction in the world, competing with massive countries like the UK and Germany. We've gotten it right. And we've gotten it right because it was bipartisan efforts by the Christie administration with a Democratic legislature and with Governor Murphy and a Democratic legislature. And I think we're the envy of the world, and many states are replicating what we do.
And you certainly can take a lot of credit for that. Congratulations on it. Thank you so much, as always, for spending time with us. Bill Pascrell III, partner at the Princeton Public Affairs Group. Still to come on Jersey Matters, a health check on the water at Jersey Shore beaches. That's next.